Oh, it's already on. Hey guys, what is up? My name is Kaylee. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing something a little different. I've talked about before that I'd like to put something on my channel every time it's one of the BTS members' birthdays. I've been doing hauls in the past, but today we're doing something special. It's been this secret project and not gonna lie, a little stressful because, well, you'll see. Today is Kim Seok-jin's birthday, aka Jin as most know him and refer to him. Jin is the eldest member of BTS. Jin is like the glue that holds BTS together. If you are ARMY, you know that he has been the oldest brother to all the other members, and I mean, he's the funniest. I'd say he's the most underrated. I love Jin, but for his birthday, Melanie over at Mel to the Any organized this group BookTube meets BTS crossover project where we all picked a book that we think each member of BTS would enjoy reading or would resonate with them, or just a book that you think represents each member. So that's what we're gonna do. I had a really hard time picking some of these, and I'll tell you the ones that I'm pretty confident in versus the ones I'm not very confident in, but without further ado, we are going to go in Bangtan order, which is leader, then oldest to youngest, and I will show you their photo cards as I go, just so anyone who's watching this that isn't really familiar with BTS will know who I'm referring to as I talk about it. So let's get started. All right, so I consider myself double biased. The first and last in this grouping will be my biases. So we're starting off right in the beginning with Namjoon. Let me see if I can get a good. Also known as RM, he is the leader and one of the lead rappers in BTS. He's been my bias since the beginning. I absolutely adore him. So let's get into the book I recommend, which I've been holding up and already spoiled, and that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that this is one of my absolute favorite books of all time, so that definitely had a sway in why I chose it for him. I do feel like I have a lot in common personally with Namjoon as a person, and because of that I feel like this is a book that if I love it, he'd probably love it, but also it has a lot to do with New Age gods versus Old Age gods and the clash and the growth and society. And if you don't know, Namjoon is a very intelligent person, and also based on lyrics he's written, I do believe that he's got a lot of understanding slash interest in mythology and gods, and I think because of that, I mean, they have a song literally called Dionysus, this would be right up his alley, as it is literally a war between old gods like Odin trying to fight for relevance amongst a world of new gods like technology and that kind of thing. And in the end, there's also a very big battle between morality and what it means to love, and it just seems right up Namjoon's alley. So, Kim Namjoon, I would pick American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Okay, next is the birthday boy, Kim Seok-jin, aka Jin. This is the handsome birthday boy himself, for anybody who doesn't know. This is kind of like a joke pick because he's such like a classic kind of person, and I really just don't think that anything that I like to read would be maybe up his alley. Like, he loves fishing, and fishing just isn't my shit. Like, that's one of his gin and fishing. So I kind of went with like a joke pick here, and the joke is that in the fandom, everyone thinks that he hasn't aged a bit in the last 10 years, maybe even longer than that. Also, he just recently confessed that he found out he is slightly allergic to garlic, which in Korean culture is not a good thing because everything has garlic. So now there are jokes that Jin is a vampire. And because of that, I chose The Radleys by Matt Haig. This is a vampiric story about a family that lives in like a regular suburb with regular people, and they have to pretend not to be vampires. Their two kids don't know that they're vampires, just the two adults, and they're trying to live normally within society. And it's satire, so it's super funny. And that's one of the things about Jin that's really amazing, and you don't really see it on the surface unless you like dive deep into BTS fandom and watch all of their side projects like Run BTS and Bon Voyage, and just you're like immersed in the fandom. He is seriously one of the funniest people, and I think because of that, the humor in this book, the jokey vampire theme, this is a perfect book for Jin. Next up is my wrecker, one of the best rappers that I have ever come across, and that is saying a lot. I do really love rap, even outside of K-pop, and that is Yoongi, aka Suga. Got a double-sided card here. You get two for the price of one. And for him, it was a little difficult, but I feel like Yoongi would be really into superheroes and morally gray characters and character growth and just a very character-driven story. So for him, I have chose Vicious as well as Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. The duology is a perfect duology for him. This stars characters who are both, the main characters are incredibly morally gray. Well, it's basically about becoming superheroes in modern society by having near-death experiences but coming out on the other end of it, and now you have superpowers. And it's a battle about who has the right, how do I say this? Should you have the powers or should you not? Basically, once the two have acquired powers, there's this struggle and battle between the two of them that goes on through this book and the second book, and just the moral ambiguity of it, as well as the very unique and interesting superpowers that each character in both books have, I feel like are things that Yoongi would be really fascinated by. So that's my pick. In prepping for this video, I realized that I have 0 JHope photo cards, and thus JHope is next, Jungho-suk. This was probably my most difficult choice. JHope is the kind of person that when you get to know his specific qualities is probably the most like me. He is, even though he's not the leader of BTS, he takes on the role of leadership, and he is like the one that wants to control things, and like, I don't mean that in a negative way, but he wants things to go right, and so he wants to do them himself to assure that they go right. He is an Aquarian, just like I am, and I don't know, but I had a lot of difficulty picking a book for him because I just couldn't figure out what is inside his head. He's a scaredy cat, but he's a leader, and I couldn't come up with a book that I thought would really represent him. So first and foremost, because I don't have a JHope card, JHope is right here. So that's the boy that I'm referring to right now, the boy. So I ended up just picking a book that really resonated with me when I read it. One that's a little bit of a classic, but it also has a lot of emotion and is hard-hitting. And I think that that's something that could definitely be up JHope's alley. And that is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. If you haven't read this, which would be shocking because I feel like almost everyone in the United States has read it, and it might have even been required reading for some of you, but it's a story that you follow one character who has special needs and goes through this program where he slowly starts to become more and more intelligent, and the story is very heartbreaking, and you watch the text actually grow in vocabulary and cadence as the character gets smarter and smarter and smarter. But like most really heart-wrenching stories, that's not where it ends. And as I said, I had a really hard time, and I can't say why I went with this book for JHope in the end, but it just felt right when I stumbled across it while I was scrolling through my Goodreads, and that is what I went with. So I feel like he'd like it. All right, next up on the list is Park Jimin. He is the oldest of the youngest members in the group. That maybe only makes sense to people that are in the fandom. Regardless, this is Jimin, one of my favorite photo cards that exists. He is a sweet and caring and whimsical Slytherin. So He's got the slight undertone evilness to him, but in the long and short of it, he is one of the most caring, comforting member in that group. If people need a hug, Jimin is there. If people get hurt, Jimin is there. He's one of those people. So I went with a book that I find incredibly whimsical, but also has some evil in it. And because we know he's a Slytherin, this book also reminds me of Harry Potter, so I feel like it's perfect for Jimin, and that is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a story of Morrigan Crow, a little girl who has magical powers but believes she is cursed because that is what she's been told her whole life. Except on the day that she was supposed to die because of her curse, she's whisked away to a new magical place where she learns that she's not actually cursed. Her powers could be used for good, and this is such a whimsical and fun story and a quick read, and if you've never read Nevermore, I highly recommend it. But in thinking back on it, and I think about Nevermore a lot, it is one of my favorite books that I've read in the past 2 years, as well as its sequel, Wondersmith. It just gives such Jimin vibes, because there's always that undertone of evil happening that Morrigan's trying to, get away from, and she herself is just the cutest little thing, and the person that saves her from where she was going to die is just like a sweet guy that is always there for her, like in the moments that she needs it. And I just feel like that makes it the perfect book for Jimin. And next up is Kim Taehyung, aka Tae, aka V, this cutie right here. He is known for being kind of like the most congenial person in the group. He makes friends with everybody. He's just one of those very open and loving individuals that people are very charmed by and have no choice but to like, because that's just the kind of personality he has. So I wanted to go with a book that's focused very much on friendship, but also knowing that Tae has said in the past that he doesn't really like to read because reading too many words makes him sleepy. So I went with a manga, and that is Orange Volume 1 specifically, because this book focuses very heavily on the friendship of the high school students. It is a very close-knit group, even though every single character is very different from each other, and probably under normal circumstances you wouldn't see them together, like, in that group. But I feel like this is a perfect book for Tae because of that friendship dynamic and how important the friendships are to the main plot line. I will say too that if this is something you haven't read but you're interested in, there are a lot of trigger warnings because the plot does revolve very heavily around suicide and suicidal ideation and the guilt of survivors post-suicide. So be aware, but I feel like Tae can handle it. And if you feel like you can handle it, this is one of my favorite mangas ever in existence. So I highly recommend it, and I feel like our little V would love it. And last but certainly not least, we have Jungkook, and that is him right here, JK, as it were, my other bias. He is obviously the youngest of the group. He comes last. I also get the feeling that he doesn't really have a lot of time to read, so I'm going with another manga. Also, recently in an interview, he went off on this whole tangent about this cop drama story idea he had for like an AU with the rest of the guys that involved like JHope and detectives. And so I thought, based on that basically alone, that he would really like Death Note Volume 1, all the volumes, it doesn't matter. But this is a story of if you've been on my channel for a while, you know I absolutely love this manga series. It's my favorite of all time. It's about a Death Note book that falls to Earth, and a high schooler picks it up and realizes what it is and starts to play God. His father is a detective, and they're trying to figure out how are all these people dying that have committed crimes and stuff. All these bad people are dying, but clearly there's got to be some kind of connection. So it's like part detective story, part fantasy with the death god that follows the main character around because it's his notebook and he's just having fun. And I just think that it's something that someone like JK would really really align with and would enjoy reading and wouldn't feel like he was forced to read it. I just have this feeling that he doesn't have a whole lot of time to read, much like the rest of them. So that said, that is the finale there. That is the last book that I would recommend for the members. I'll put this down and close out because this was such a fun project, also a little stressful. I feel like a lot of my choices are perfect, and then there's the few where I like, Jin's was kind of funny, JHope's was kind of a stretch, Yoongi's maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like the other four, pretty solid. I'm really excited to see what everyone else has chosen, and I will have everyone linked down below that participated in this project. I can't wait to see what everyone chose for every member, and I hope that if you've enjoyed this video, you'll go check out everyone else's video as well. As a closing note, happy birthday, Jin. I am so glad to have come across BTS in this life, and I know it sounds super, super cheesy, but what can you say? When you know, you know. Everybody who's in the same kind of position as I am knows what I mean when I say that there's nothing right now in the world like BTS, and we always joke that we're all very lucky to be alive in a time when BTS is who they are, what they are, and doing what they do for everybody. So while they spread a message of positivity and learning to love yourself, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you are happy, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you, like everybody else, are learning to love yourself. Happy birthday, Jin. I'll see you guys in the next one.